It's high time I go back to my roots and discuss the iconic Taller in More Ways era. This is how SUGABABE's success became taller in more ways. Prior to the release of their fourth studio album, there was a lot going on behind the scenes with SUGABABES. They had 3 albums before, and during that time they had replaced an original member of SUGABABES by the second studio album. As you can see on my left here, this is Heidi, and Heidi was now the 3rd member of SUGABABES. Mucha had given birth to a beautiful baby girl at 19 years old at this time. And there were never-ending rumours that the band was splitting up, that the girlies were fighting, and that they were in the works of creating a greatest hits album. So there was a lot of speculation and messiness going on prior to the release of Taller in More Ways. So this was a very interesting time for SUGABABE's public image. Little did the general public and fans know that this was just the start of the messiness and the drama that would follow SUGABABES in years to come, and that would eventually lead to the departure of all original band members. Taller in More Ways was released on the 10th of October 2005. For a little bit of context, this is the first SUGABABES album that I recognize, that I remember listening to. This was my first introduction of the girls, so that's why I'm starting with this era. I remember my older sister had this on CD and we would play it all the time on our family CD player, and it was just perfection. We were truly obsessed with the SUGABABES. So although this isn't the original lineup of the girls, this is the one that I was first introduced to, and this is the one that I remember being a very prominent part of my music interests at the time. This record is described as a pop album with sounds of electro pop, R&B, and crunk. I would say the music on this album is the perfect blend of classic British R&B vibes with a mixture of American influences. In a past interview, Keisha was quoted saying that they were the first British group, I think she meant girl group or maybe group in general, first British group to incorporate an American sound in their music. And she's not completely wrong, because when you think about it, during this time in the 2000s and even like the late 90s, there weren't many British groups that were incorporating American sounds, if any. So I think that was a very first statement for Keisha to say. And it also leads me to believe another reason why SUGABABES was so popular during this time is because they stood out from the other British girl bands when they were on the scene. You know, their competition, I guess, their competitors were Girls Aloud, I guess Atomic Kitten, other girl groups like that, and SUGABABES stood out because they were centered on their harmonies and that R&B style American-esque sound of music, if that makes. Themes on this album include relationships, self-esteem, body image, personal growth, the lot. This album gave us bops and ballads. Like, it was truly a perfect blend of everything that you could ever want in a album in the 2000s. It was perfection, and it still is. I love how the sounds on this album don't even sound too dated, in my opinion. Like, I guess you could say some sounds, they're nostalgic and very 2000s-esque, but all of the music on this album is very much relevant and very much still great to hear so many years later. Another thing that I find really interesting is the album title Taller in More Ways was actually inspired by one of the lyrics in the song Ugly, which I think is very beautiful. And I think Taller in More Ways is a very cool album title. I like the fact that they used one of the most meaningful songs on this album to title. Stay tuned for part 2. Upon its release, Taller in More Ways was a huge commercial success. Like I said, this album was this group's I made it moment. Like, they did exceedingly well with numbers and just mainstream success in this era. When it was released, it debuted at #1 on the UK albums chart, and it sold 65,781 copies. Pretty impressive if you ask me. This made it the group's first album to top the chart in the UK. It was also their highest first week sales. It was also a great success internationally as it debuted at number 8 on the Irish albums chart. Then it peaked at number 7 the following week. By October of 2008, Taller in More Ways had sold over 900,000 copies of this record in the UK alone. That's so impressive for a fourth studio album. So as you can gather from some of those favorable numbers, upon its release, this album was received so well. They received great reviews from critics. People were really interested in the music that SUGABABES had to offer. Their lead single, Push the Button, entered the official singles chart at number 1 and stayed there for 3 consecutive weeks. It later became SUGABABES' most successful song in the country at that time. Not to be dramatic or anything, but by December of 2005, things took a drastic turn. Mucha, one of the original SUGABABES in the middle, she decided to leave the band. Fans were absolutely devastated. This was not what we wanted. Just 2 months after Taller in More Ways came out, Mucha decided to leave the band. At this point, the album had sold almost 400,000 copies. This is incredible. This is not the time for drastic things to be happening, like OG band members leaving. It just shows that all these achievements and numbers doesn't always mean everything to an artist, because there was clearly things going on behind the scenes that we weren't aware of that led Mucha to make the decision to leave the band. On their official website, Mucha explained the reason she decided to leave the band was for personal reasons. However, we later discovered that it was due to motherhood and wanted to prioritize raising her baby girl. I'm pretty sure there was a plethora of reasons, because this is just not an easy decision for any artist to make. But I'm sure there were a plethora of reasons as to why she decided to leave. But this definitely caused some drama in the fan base and probably within the girl group too. And Mucha would later be replaced by an artist called Amel. Because of this, they had to re-record some songs, re-record vocals. Like, there was a lot going on. They made an alternative cover. I think this was for the US version, or it could have just been another alternative cover for the UK as well. It was just a messy time, to say the least. Like, they were doing so well, like, commercially successfully, but in terms of, like, I guess, like, longevity with a band and the way your public image is, it wasn't the greatest, let's just say that. And I guess it isn't really anyone's fault if things aren't working out within a band, like, they're not working out. But this was definitely the start of SUGABABES kind of being known for, like, messiness and drama, which is unfortunate. To promote this album, the girls did embark on a tour. They did a Taller in More Ways tour. There's not a lot of content online, as you can imagine. This was 2006. So I can't see a lot of videos of the Taller in More Ways tour, so I don't really know what the concepts were. But as you can imagine, it was a small tour as they were still very early on in their career. And they just performed at small venues, you know, opera houses, theatres, that type of thing. Stay tuned for part 3. Let's talk about SUGABABES' aesthetic and style in the Taller in More Ways era. This was the single cover for Push the Button. And I really like this single cover. I feel like it's very sultry. It goes with the vibe of the single. It goes with the music video vibe. I feel like Mucha is the star in this single cover. She looks really good, and her eyebrows are to die for. So let's just start off with the core 3 from this era. So Heidi, Mucha, and Keisha. I don't know if they had stylists at this time. Someone correct me if you know if they did or not. But I feel like the girls were definitely going for a much more mature vibe coming from their previous album. Like, you know, you can tell with the pencil skirts, the bodycon dresses, the chunky belts. Like, it's very, very late 2000s. But also it was giving mature vibes, and it makes sense because one of the OG members, Mucha, had a baby during this time, and having a baby, motherhood, it changes people, it changes their style, it changes their vibe a little bit. So I can imagine that that impacted their style as a group too. But yeah, I would consider their style in this era very minimalistic. And I feel like the maturity of their style reflected the themes in the album. The style choices in this era consisted of bodycon dresses, wrap tops, skinny jeans, maxi skirts, pencil skirts, and Keisha loved a good beret. Like you'll see in this era and in future eras, Keisha would love to wear a beret, and I love that for her. This is when they were at the Brits, I think. The Brits in 2005 or 2006. No, I think it was 2005 because yeah, it's 2005 at the Brits because Mucha is pregnant here. I just love how Mucha's style was adding the edge to the group. Her aura was edgy, and like she had an edgy hairstyle, her piercings, her tattoos. It just gave a vibe that people weren't really used to in girl groups. In this picture though, I feel like it's giving the perfect example of female media tropes. So for example, in this image, I feel like Mucha in the middle is sporting the cool girl, edgy girl vibe. The outfit that Heidi has on is a stark contrast to what Mucha's wearing. So I feel like Heidi has this like girl next door vibe going on. Almost like beachy, flowy, free girl vibe. Honestly, I would say that Keisha matches like the sexy, sultry type. I don't want to say femme fatale, but like definitely giving sexy, sultry vibes. So we have sexy, we have edgy, and we have girl next door. Let me know if you guys agree with those media tropes, and let me know if you have any other media tropes for them to fit into. But I think those categories that I've put them into are pretty accurate. These outfits reiterate the style choices that SUGABABES had during this era. Like very business casual. That was what was in the late 2000s, so it makes sense that the girls were dressing like this. Just that very sleek fitted look, and I feel like they don't look like they're having a red carpet or going to some sort of press event. If anything, it feels like a work Christmas party, but that was the style during this time. Now I'm gonna look at some style choices with Mel in the group when Mucha had left at this point. So this was them at the L Style Awards in 2006. And honestly, I kind of like this look. I like how they're all matching in black. Again, they have like the pointed shoes, business casual. I like how Amel has a little bit of leather. Maybe they were trying to make her replace Mucha's edgy vibe with the leather in the middle. I don't know if that's a reach, but that's what I was thinking when I saw that. It's like green. It's like a green leather. And then again, we have Keisha with a beret. It would be so hard to find Keisha without a beret. In these eras, she absolutely adored him. I don't really love what Heidi's wearing too much. I feel like the fishnet tights were unnecessary. But again, it was 2006. Who am I to comfort anybody? I was 7 at the time. God knows what I was wearing. I feel like every girl in the 2000s had an outfit like exactly what Amel and Keisha's wearing. And those long tops with jeans, almost like they were like dresses. And then we'd have jeans underneath. Like, this is 2000s core to a T. I don't think SUGABABES ever really had any style management at this time. They never really had any stylish choices. I don't know if they have some now, but I think obviously they would have some now. But at this time, I do not know who was styling them because they weren't really emulating other girl groups, you know what I mean? Like as we see with past girl groups like Spice Girls, Destiny's Child, even Girls Aloud, like there was clear style choices that they were making for the girls. But I feel like with the SUGABABES, it was never really giving like super stylish. It was just giving like, we just put this on, like we're doing our show or we're doing a press thing, let's just shove this on, you know? It never really felt intentional. Overall, in terms of the style, I do feel like the girls just wanted to achieve that mature vibe. But I do love with their makeup, they kind of stuck with like this smoky eye, adding, I guess, to the sultry look. In this image, I can't really pinpoint which media trope is which. I still feel like Keisha is fitting like this sexy, sultry vibe with the lace around her cleavage. But so is Heidi in this image. In fact, Amel is the one that looks like the girl next door. So I don't know. I feel like after Mucho was no longer in the band, their look didn't necessarily stand out to me. I don't know if anyone else feels the same, but aesthetic didn't stand out to me because we didn't have like that core difference in three members. You know what I mean? Back to this album cover. I really, really like it. I feel like it's simple. It's nostalgic for me because I literally remember having the physical CD. And I just love how they're all wearing like black, dark colours, sophisticated bodycon dresses, and then they just have Sugababes Taller in My Ways right in the middle. I think that's a perfect, simple album cover for the 2000s. And I love the font. I love the Sugababes font, and I love that they stuck with it throughout the years. I think it just gave 2000s vibes, 2000s core, I don't know. If I was to rate this album cover, I would probably give it, honestly, I'd probably give it like a 7 or 8. Because obviously there isn't a lot of creativity with it, but it just works. It works and it fits the vibe of the album. It fits the songs, it fits their aesthetic during this time. So definitely a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Overall, I'd say that Taller in My Ways was definitely their most mainstream album, but it still had a great balance of commercial and edginess. I really feel like Taller in My Ways creates a beautiful, immersive experience, like a sonically diverse experience for listeners. If you haven't listened to this album, I urge you to listen to this album because it is perfection. If you love this era, if you love this album, let me know what you guys think and let me know what your favorite songs are from this album too. I'd love to know, and let me know which Sugababes era you want me to do next.